Are you looking for a faster video? Well, today it's a live stream, and I know you're probably looking for a really nice and tidy, edited down video, but I have ways for you to make it faster. You can click that little gear on the YouTube settings right there on the video and adjust the playback speed, make me sound like a chipmunk, and it'll go a lot faster. You can also look and see if there's timestamps for this project in the description, and if you're on a desktop, you can hover over the time bar at the bottom of the screen and see if it's chunked up into chapters, and then that way you can go directly to the step you're looking for. And lastly, you can also tap on the screen on the right hand side of the video picture or on the left hand side to make the video jump ahead, forward or backward if you're on a mobile device. And you can adjust that amount in your settings so you can have complete control over how much it jumps. So if you are on a desktop, you can use the fast forward or the rewind, and that will make it go faster as well. You can also enable subtitles, and the little CC on the screen will enable closed captioning. That way, if I am a little bit harder to understand with that double playback speed, the subtitles might help you out. All right, well, I know that it's not a nice little edited video, but if you sew with me, we'll get there together and it'll be lots of fun. And now for the live stream. Happy sewing! Hello, how's it going? My glasses. Good morning, Dolan. Hey, Beverly. How's it going? Does everything sound and look okay? All right. So I had a bit of excitement today. I took one of the bowls I made on Saturday as an experiment. Hi, Hannah. Because it was made with just the thread I had on my machine that day, and I wanted to see what happens when you put a bowl, the microwavable bowl cozies we made yesterday. I want to know what happened when you put it in the microwave, and it was a disaster. So everyone who warned me, thank you for warning me, because literal fire and embers. Like, I was like, oh, I'll put this on for 2 minutes because someone would probably boil water or heat up soup for 2 minutes. I came out of the bathroom, I went to the bathroom, came out, and I was like, oh my gosh, something's on fire. Anyway, that's my cautionary tale. Hi, Mullen. Hey, Carrie. Hi. Thanks, Beverly. Yeah, don't worry, we won't tell Carrie. So that was exciting. Hi, Diane. Yay. Oh, snow flurries. How nice. Here, it's actually cloudy. We might get some rain, which is pretty great for us. It's funny. I'm up, I drive 5 miles to my office here from down in the valley. Like, that's what they would say. I live in a place that's a valley. And it is sometimes so foggy there, and it's beautiful and sunny up here. And it reminds me of living on the coast where we lived in the sunny area and my husband had to go to work in the fog, and now it's the opposite. And the fog was so bad last night that I had to drive 30 miles an hour for most of the way because I couldn't even see 4 feet in front of my truck. I got totally, like, I turned out of my complex and I was like, thought I was already going down the hill, and I'm like, oh my gosh, there's another traffic light. I'm still in town. It was so weird. It was the second worst fog I've ever been in. So, yes, Beverly, I guess so. The polyester got so hot, it ignited the cotton. Oh, no worries, Fiona. It's uploaded if you want to watch, and then you can watch it in double speed. Yeah, oh boy, exactly. Thankfully, only one other person is here, and he's completely sympathetic, and he like opened windows and doors, and I was like, ugh, scary. Okay, so I'm making, I think, 2 pairs of pajama pants today. I've cut out 2 pairs, one for my daughter, one for her roommate. I got this fabric in a, I was briefly subscribing to the Fabric Godmother box, which is really awesome. And then when I got this one, I just finally unsubscribed. I loved the first 2 boxes a lot, but both those fabrics I couldn't use on camera because of the print was too, it was too busy. Like my cameras won't work. Sometimes they'll glitch on stripes and gingham, and the floral was just too dark. And I also got 2 patterns in a row that I was just not a fan of. And so I was just like, you know what, I'm just gonna let this go. It was an experiment anyway. Awesome box though, like it is really great. You get really good goodies and stuff in it. Very affordable, even though it's in the UK and I'm in the US. I'm not a big astrological fan, and so when I saw this, I was like, oh my goodness, it's so much fabric too. It's like 4 or 5 yards. But then I showed my daughter, she's into this, and she was like, yeah, I totally love pants in it. So I was like, this is great. I'm gonna make 2 pairs. I still have plenty left over. I've already cut out both pairs, but I'm gonna do 2 modifications and then we're gonna start sewing. So the 2 modifications I'm gonna do is I'm gonna add a back pocket. So if you wanna do that, I just made a pattern piece that's 6 inches wide going across and 7 inches tall, roughly. So if you want a different size, go for it. I'm just totally doing this on the fly. I put a 1-inch hem allowance at the top there. So I'm gonna put back patch pockets on it, because why not? Because this is a rayon chelly. It's not quite pajama material. It's more lounging, right? So anyway, really, Melody? Oh my gosh. Yeah, fire, exactly. I'm assuming thread. Oh my goodness. Yeah, this microwave maybe different. I don't know. I wouldn't take a chance. I never thought of these as going in the microwave, but so many people were stressing that I was like, okay, I have to think this through. Why would they do this? And it does make sense, because if you have to lift the hot bowl out and put it in the cozy, then you're kind of going to burn your hands anyway, right? So if you put it in the cozy and then microwave it, I just wouldn't do that. But I think that's very common. So you don't know who you're giving it to and what they would do, you know? So I would just be careful. Did I say hi, Donna? All right, so the other thing I'm gonna do is just for something to interesting to do that you might find interesting for future projects is I'm gonna make this front pocket piece anchored to the front. So as it stands, it would be a pattern piece that you sew to the side seam right here, right? And it would be this separate pocket coming out, right? And then, you know, it folds towards the front, right? So it sits like this. But the thing is, it can kind of flop to the back. Do you ever put your hands in your pockets and they're back here and you have to like do this whole thing and shimmy them? Well, I'm just going to extend the top so that it gets caught in the waistband. So you don't have to do that. I just thought it would be kind of a good little thing to do, you know? And it's easy. It doesn't work on every pattern, but I'm a big fan when you can do this, because it really does make the pants so much easier to wear and the pockets. And have you ever had a pair of pants like that? And say like your keys are in the pocket and then you get in your car and it's back here and you sit down, you're like, ow, you know, and then you have to get up. You have to actually get out of the car and flip your pocket to the front. I feel like it's like a budget garment, you know, that does that. But honestly, it's very common because a lot of times you can't anchor the pocket to the waistband for one reason or another. So this is one case where we actually can do it, so we're going to. So, and I'm going to cut out most of the pocket first, since I'm just doing this kind of on the fly. I'm also making the extra small. That is not the smallest size. It's close. I almost made the smallest size. My daughter is only an inch above it, and these look very, very roomy. But I decided that I'm just gonna go with it. The waist is gonna fit her. That'll be good, you know? There we go. Just cut a little bit of this paper off here. Make it easier. Hi, Elena. Yes, Aisha. Well, 20 Bulcos all cotton getting smart. Yes, exactly. I tried the one I made last Saturday using the thread I had on my machine, and it caught on fire. I just wanted to see what would happen. Yeah, exactly. Oh, you can't reschedule work meetings. Work, man. Come on. What are they thinking? All right, so I'm going to line up my pattern on the notches there. This is the front, right? Yeah. So I'm just looking at the back over there. I'm going to draw in the waistline. So if you're doing the low rise, you need to follow the waistline. I'm doing the high rise. I've never seen high rise and low rise, but 5 out of 4 does this on all of them, where they do it only in the front. So if it's low rise, it's only low rise in the front. And I have thoughts about that, but I haven't thought them through, so I'm not going to really say much about it. I don't necessarily think it's wrong, but I would think that it would go all the way around. So, but like I said, I haven't thought it through. Low rise was not a thing when I was doing most of my pants pattern drafting. It's kind of, it's like I say in that video, fit is all about trend and how it feels. It's not anything to do with what's right and wrong sometimes, 2 minutes. 2 minutes. I put it in there for 2 minutes. Hi, Sydney. How's it going? All right. So it doesn't say what the seam allowance is on the waist. And on the pant itself, I should maybe show you a picture of what we're doing here, huh? There's a link in the description. This is a free pattern from 5 out of 4 patterns. It's a very relaxed pant with a side pocket, drawstring option. I was thinking about doing the drawstring, but I didn't get my machine set up. And let's see, what was I about to look up? The seam allowances for this. 3/8. It says right there, it's 3/8 inch seam allowance, but the waistband doesn't say it. And if you're doing, it's a 1 1/4 inch elastic, so it's got at least that. I'm going to serge the elastic on using the serger directly on, then I turn it and top stitch. It's my absolute favorite way to put it on. But the other one, I'm going to try and do that, but using my single needle, which means I need a little bit more seam allowance. So one of these is going to be like a 1/4 inch lower, right? So, hi, Carrie. How's it going? Oh, your name's Karen, right? I always think it's Carrie because I knew someone named Carrie and it was spelled Keri. Yeah, you finally get a minute to check in. Yeah, absolutely. The big 4 patterns were disaster fit wise. Ooh. Did you make these and they were really roomy? They look very, very roomy. Like I almost sized down. Hoping it'll be okay. All right, so if there's 1 1/4 inch for the elastic, but on one of these pairs, I'm going to do it another way. So I'm just going to mark a 1 1/2 inch parallel line here. And we want our pocket to go up to that. So we're going to line up. We can actually just do this. Since we already traced the waist on here, I'm just going to draw that on there. And then we're going to blend this straight up. Now you could put this pocket on the fold if you want. And so now what's going to happen is these are going to turn, the waistband's going to turn down, and we're going to top stitch it through, and there's the pocket opening. We're not disrupting that. A nicer way to do this even would be to only go to where it folds down to so that you're barely catching them in, which we could do that. I think that's nicer. So basically what I'm saying is this is supposedly going to turn down an 1.5 inches to there, right? So we really only need these pockets to meet this top stitch line. So we could just do that. I'll put it a 1/2 inch past. And it'll be less fabric in the casing. So let's reiterate, so we get some visuals. my pant is cut out to the size that I want. If I line up my pocket pattern onto those notches right here, I drew a parallel line 2.5 inches down from this cut edge. I'm using the high rise, and then I kind of smoothed it up. And then this line is going to go about 1/2 inch past where this turns down. Probably only 1/4 inch on one of mine. So, oh, nice, Patty. I have a link in the description, and then there's, if you want to do it through my affiliate link, you can, but I don't get anything for it, so it's not a big deal if you don't. Crotch steps were horrendous. That's terrible, Karen. I mean, I feel like that's what happens. They just make them bigger. Bigger's not better. Anyone who wants inclusive sizing because they're in the inclusive sizing or curvy sizing range knows this for a fact. Bigger is not better. Fit, the way it fits is key. Like if you want something that's actually thought out for your measurements and has the proper amount of ease, you can't just make something bigger and say, hey, it's going to fit everybody, because then it's just uncomfortable and it doesn't fit well, right? Oh, that's great, Elena. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and this is a unisex pattern. We all know how I feel about unisex patterns. All right, so now I'm going to cut out my pockets. And I need, if I don't want to put this on the fold, which, you know, you could just put this on the fold. And if you do put this on the fold, what I would do is I would square this off down here. So I'll show you. It's a patchwork quilt of pattern drafting. So you're going to square off here like that. There was seam allowance on this 3/8, but whatever, that's fine. And so now I would put this on the fold. So we can do that. Let's do it, right? There's a way to make these pants with no side seam, but if you do that, you don't get pockets. Just so you know. Well, that's good. Yeah, no problem, Patty. I don't think it makes a difference. Like, I don't know if they like track, like, am I a good affiliate or not? I doubt they track that stuff. I'm sure they're just like, whatever. They're very, very kind and generous that way, you know. All right, so I'm going to put this on the fold. I'm cutting 2 layers. This is literally, I'm just like, this is a very casual sew. I am not doing my best heirloom sewing. Not that I ever do. Let's put it on the proper fold line though, huh? You like how I almost put the pocket opening? That would have been worse than heirloom. All right. I'll bet this is one of their most popular patterns, to be honest, since it's free and just so useful for so many. There's a kids version as well. If you guys want links to any of these, I have them pulled up. I can easily put a link in the comments for you. All right, so now we have for 1 pair. And then, could I get another one out of the scrap here? Let's see. Barely. Maybe I could. That'd be kind of cool. This is a one-way fabric too, so I gotta kind of be careful. Nah. It's so close. I'm just make this pocket a little narrower. They won't know, right? I need to make 1 pair of these pants 2 inches shorter. And I have this old patch that I never put on anything with my daughter's initial. I'm going to put it on her pair so they can keep track of them. I think it'll be really funny. Okay, so then I'm going to just cut out patch pockets. Hey Terry, how's it going? You saw that, Barbara? Oh yeah, the microwave scare. You know, that was all I had into me today. Between the machine last night, which ended up being totally fine. You know, the machine definitely protects itself, so that was worked out. Like it was fixed before I even hit end stream yesterday. Between that and the microwave, I've had enough scares. I literally thought that way I was about to sew that was a lot lighter weight. I think there was just something about the angle that I came upon, that thickness, that bent the needle tip and then made it very exciting. Right. I've already cut out my pants, so we're ready to sew after I cut this out. I just cut out 4. Oh, and let me mark my placement. I didn't think that through too much. That might be my only thing I'm a little bit like, I hope I did okay there. Okay. All right. I need this. And we need both backs. You saw it too. All right, I'm gonna put my pattern pieces away right now. And fabric. Now it's going to mark where I'm going to put the back pockets. So what I was looking at here, I was kind of like trying to gauge on me and where, you know, this is going to fold down. The waistband's folding down back. This is the back pant, right? So you need to make sure your pocket is definitely steering clear of the waist. Now my back pockets right now, they're in line with the bottom of my front pocket. But would I say that that would be a good, you know, so I'm going to put these, I think I'm going to put them about right here. And this is the pocket marking right here. I'm a little worried this is really high. Let's just do them an inch down. My daughters are definitely a different proportion than me. So this is almost an 1.5 inches down, this purple line that I just drew. Can you barely see that? And, oh, the fabric I'm using is a rayon, like a rayon challis. It's not really pajama fabric. I got it in a subscription box from Fabric Godmother. If you're interested in this fabric, I don't get anything for this, but if you go to the Fabric Godmother Instagram, they were just talking about it, and it comes in other colorways, which I thought was pretty interesting. So, all right. So this is the pocket notch right here, and I'm gonna put my back pockets about, it's like a 1 3/8 lower, and I'm gonna roughly center it. So it's 6 inches wide, right? So let's put this, I'm just gonna do a 1/4 inch seam allowance on my pocket. So there we go, there's our pocket. This is about 2 inches from the cut edge there. Hopefully they're okay. They're lounge pants. Let me go get my chalk. Let's see. Here we go. All right, so let's line this roughly up onto the pant. Look at these things are already growing. Eek. I hope her sign's on here. I don't know. Oh, they're both, I think, Scorpios. So I'm just going to fold this down on the line. There we go. Just mark our juncture. They're loose, right? Hi, Chantal. How's it going? Oh, nice. I'm from Amsterdam. Welcome. Yeah, this print is perfect for pajama bottoms, don't you think? And I think this fabric, you know, it's very drapey. They're probably a little cold when you put them on, being rayon, you know. But this is so, like, my daughter loves this kind of fabric. Like, she loves wearing it, lounging in it, whatever, you know. Look at that little bump I got. It's also very squirrely to cut. All right, so just mark these pockets. We're going to sew these first, so we're not too worried about the chalk lasting on there. It's really hard to mark chalk on a pen. Just doesn't really like it. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. All right, we're ready to sew. I set my serger up with 4 thread and black. And let's see, I marked my fronts so I can tell them apart. And then we have all our pockets here that I changed. Here's my back pockets. Someone wins the wider pocket. Maybe that's not a good thing, I don't know. You know, sometimes pockets can be too big too. All right, let's do this. I got movie guys over there. I'm gonna put the camera change thing on. Let's turn the iron on as we walk by. Oh yeah, that wasn't on at all. I moved my camera onto a different thing. Oh, geez. Okay. This thing is way too stiff. Okay, sorry. This is why I put the camera change screen on. So I don't make anybody nauseous moving stuff around. I'm gonna try and streamline this a little bit this winter. Let's see if I can get this to work. I do not like that arm. All right, let's see how I did. Where is it? Oh, there we go. Oh, I didn't set this camera up. 45 people. Welcome, everybody. This is the easy camera to set up. Thank goodness, right? I think my computer updated last night. I didn't want it to. because all of this should have still been set up. I thought I actually fixed this before I started, but I guess not. Here we go. Let's see how this fabric looks. That's pretty good. All right. Let's see the serger. The serger's looking at the pattern table. See, all this was set up. My computer must have updated. That's rude. I specifically didn't want it to do that because you just never know what you're gonna get, right? We've definitely learned the hard way. Let me just set it up real quick. There we go. Okay. All right, so the first thing I'm gonna do is sew on these back pockets. And then let me think about what else I could do with the serger. 3/8" seams. In fact, maybe what I'll do is sew the center back seam first so that I have fewer pieces kind of tumbling about here. And then we'll put the back pockets on. And that'll also give me the opportunity to overlock the top edge of the pocket. And we can iron it too. Imagine that. Iron. We don't need no stinking iron. No, I'm just teasing. We love the iron. We love the iron. All right, let's do our top pockets here. You could just roll hem this too, but it's a serger day. We're having more of those right now. How's that look? There's an optical illusion happening for me, and I'm just kind of... You know when you hear people chain things together? This is what that is. I just keep putting one in there, and it's even better when you can butt them up against each other. It doesn't... It does save in some respects, time-wise. But you still need to cut them all apart. And so it's nice when you get really close so that you don't have like a big tail, you know, there. But I will say, like, in production, sometimes it's just kind of, it just depends on what you want to deal with, honestly. You know? How much hands-on you're willing to deal with, right? All right, let's do the, and I want to change my tension a little bit. This, okay, and then put that at neutral. And I'd like it a little wider, but I want it a little looser. Let's try that. Nothing like willy-nilly adjusting your serger, right? Let's test it out on somebody else's pants. No, I'm just teasing. Oh yeah, that looks a lot better. Let's see how the tension is. The serger's so nice. It kind of throws me off. I look at the way my other machine sews so much that the visual right here is very different for me. It's still a little bit tight. I think what I want is you right here. There we go. Let's see, did that work? That looks a little better. It's a little, you can see how it was folding over the edge there? So that did fix that. So let's do a little bit more. Okay, let's do the other back seam. This feels like a lot of fabric. think like this is such a good example. Like this is a pattern that you can kind of get away with doing as a unisex, right? But in that video that I did about, you know, what to expect from pattern companies, I go into it a little bit of why unisex is kind of problematic. Like I'm fine with genderless styles. I want to be clear about that. Like I actually like that movement, and I really like the idea of clothing that is genderless. And by that I just mean like you just don't have to attach either to it, you know, it's for anybody. Because, you know, there are, you know, lots of styles that everybody wants to wear, right? But we are definitely shaped differently. And it can be kind of a problem when you remove some of the fit elements that are necessary. I'm missing pockets now. Here they are. And I brought this example up in that video where I worked somewhere, and so, you know, like a while ago, you know, 20 years ago, women were fighting to get clothing made for them in outdoor gear and utilitarian, you name it. Like women were wearing men's things for decades to do jobs that men were doing. And it was a problem. Like you think of like coveralls, whatever it is, gardening clothing, landscaping, you know, building, Carhartts, all that stuff. They didn't have a women's style. So we were all just kind of forced to make do. And it was the same in the outdoor industry. Look at this. Oh, I was going to say, what happened here? I was like, what? How did I cut that so bad? And so, but if you looked at the stats of who was buying stuff, especially in the outdoor world, women were the clear winner. And you couldn't ignore that. But we got so much pushback for saying we want women's specific sizing for things that were really important. And the things we made were literally life-saving garments. You know, they would extend your time in the water if you accidentally fell out of your boat and it was really cold. So if you have an ill-fitting garment and hypothermia starts setting in, it can be really dangerous, and it is. And so we were just like, give us one, you know, like we had like two. And the thing is, like, everything in the line was labeled as unisex, and you would, if you were looking at the size chart, you'd be like, okay, I'm the women's size chart. There was a women's size chart and a men's size chart, even all the clothes were unisex. And there were a few women's items. I'm just gonna hem my pockets. I often hem from the right side because I can really see what it's gonna look like. And if you have a machine that's kind of ugly on the other side, because I've had plenty of machines like that, this solves that in a way. And also you can kind of control, like, okay, did I get this very even? You know, let's check. This is, and I'm used to doing this for making jeans, you know, so yeah, you know, if you looked at the unisex chart, it was the men's size chart, and so you would basically size down, right? Yeah, exactly, Barbara. I almost brought that up just now. Like, you look at the Rosie the Riveter era, right? And what they were wearing. And they were literally, you know, keeping the country going in manufacturing. So, the guys were always just like, you just buy the size lower. But they didn't account for the fact that we had hips, boobs, and our arms aren't as long. Our proportions are a little bit different. And obviously people fit into this huge spectrum in women's and in men's and whatever gender of how they look, right? What their proportions are. So we were just like, all right, fine. So one day, I don't know which one of us, maybe we came up with it together. We were like, let's make the guys try on the women's clothes. Like, that's where we were at. We were desperate. And they were like, we're not going to do that. We don't need to do that. And we were like, you absolutely need to do that. You're telling us to buy the size smaller that we would usually buy in menswear. You buy the size larger in the women's. You try it on. Most of them couldn't get anything on. Like, theoretically, their measurements should have fit in that size. Like, oh, your waist is that? This is great. This is perfect for you. Try it on. And they couldn't get it on. One guy was so determined. He got the jacket on, then he couldn't get it off. We almost had to cut him out of it. You know, $400 jacket. And yeah, it was just like, it was very enlightening and so satisfying. And we didn't gloat until they left. We were really, really, you know, professional about it. We were very kind and gentle. Oh, that doesn't fit. I'm so sorry about that. You know? Till they left. And then we basically had a party. Yeah, there's lots of specialty clothing, and a lot of the clothing that is required in fields like that and in the outdoor industry, they're protective, right? They're there to make the wearer safer because they have full range of motion and movement or whatever it is, you know. I'm just looking at my, you know, like maybe we should, oh, that looks better. Could I have been more a little strategic in what fabrics I put on the pockets? Maybe. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know if I say that in the video. I cut out so much in that video. Hey, Libby, how's it going? I cut out so much because I really wanted it to not get any longer and I wanted people to listen to it. But my husband and I were the same weight when we measured. He's only a few inches taller than me. And we were both 120 pounds when we met. 120 or 125 pounds, something like that. And all the time we would mistake each other's pants coming out of the dryer, you know, and neither one of us could get either one of our pants on. It was hilarious because I would get his like up to my thigh and be like, nope, these aren't mine because I have thighs literally the same weight as each other. And I was shorter, you know, so theoretically smaller. Oh, I'm losing my chalk markings. I talked a good game, right? When I was like, yeah, chalk will be fine. Yeah, and he couldn't get them around his waist. They were just too small, really by a lot. Oh, look at that. Well, this worked out. I'm just placing all my pockets so that I don't put something weird on one of the butts, right? Yeah, so life jackets was actually for us the tipping point, and I say that in the video because one of the things we did was life jackets, and they're called PFDs. Where is my marking? I'm just kind of looking to see, is this, you know, like the same distance here from the center back seam, because I'm kind of losing my markings, you know. So I just want them to look symmetrical. Yeah, so we made these PFDs, and I wasn't on that project. It's a very specific thing. There were things each of us did. And when you do something like that, it goes through this testing process through UL, like what you see on your light bulb where it says UL, it's United Laboratories. And the person who does all the pattern drafting and all the engineering really should just stay on the project, start to finish, go all the way through. It's a really long process because then you're like one person point of contact with UL. You're the person that's contacting with all your field testers, all these things, because it's a safety thing. And the thing was, yeah, the PFDs were just so like uncomfortable in the world, and you know, really like you're saying, they were just kind of blocky and stuff. And so we came out with we came out with 2 unisex and 1 women's, because we were like, you know, you absolutely, if we're going to go through this really expensive process, because it's expensive to do it too, we should add women's from the start, because we should just do it now. And we won that battle. And we engineered a PFD that was princess seams. And then when they went to market, they were a huge sensation. No one had done PFDs like this before. And what people started finding was guys were buying the women's because kayakers have really developed upper body muscles, and they were finding the women's fit them better. And so it was such a good way to be like, well, look, I mean, you know, you're already now psychologically, they hated the name of it. A lot of women did too. It was called the Ms. They were called the Fit series because they fit really well. It was the side fit, the side zip, the side zip, and the side fit. What were they called? The something, and then the Ms. fit. So women were like kind of a little irritated, but you know, of course, guys loved that we called it the Ms. fit, right? And the guys were like, they wanted us to change the name of it because they were like, we don't want this named this because it's a women's specific name. And we were like, no. So even though the name was a little controversial for women, women didn't know internally that we were like, but they want to change it to something for them. And we wouldn't let that happen. All these little politics that happen with your clothing and you have no idea what's going on in the design room. It's kind of funny. Like we were like, okay, we hear you women, but no, we're not going to change it because they're going to change it to something to suit their egos. We didn't do it, so. All right, 2-patch pockets. Yeah, just over your knees, talking point. My husband once put my jeans on, only realized they were in his because the front pockets were so small. Oh no, that is so funny, Sarah. That's so funny. Yeah, we aren't even given real pockets. Yeah, okay. I sew my pockets starting upside down usually. You can tell this fabric's a little thready. Like I said, it's a rayon jelly. You could iron under the whole edge if you like. I know watching me fiddle probably is really annoying, but I like the freedom of doing it. I didn't really give myself much room there, did I? Okay. The challis is just so wiggly wormily, man. Oof. It's one of my least favorite fabrics to cut out. Knits and challis, you know, it's worth it. I don't enjoy it. Where's my awl? The awl's great for this. Kind of straighten this edge out. When I made my husband his first pair of jeans, I didn't put the coin pocket on because I hate it. And he said, you know, he's so diplomatic and nice, you know. He's just like, you know, I really like them, but I just have to say, like, if you ever make me another pair, I really need the coin pocket. And I was like, oh, of course you do. I totally forgot about that. You know? Oh, right, Sydney, I know. The way I look at my weight at that age or any of my sizing from that age is that we were not fully grown yet. You know, like comparing ourselves to that age and size is so unfair to ourselves. We're not even done. Like my hips changed so drastically in my early 20s, you know? So, oh God, stretch velvet. My condolences. So there we go. I didn't match my print, but at least I don't have, oh my gosh, I love this little rain cloud and the rainbows. Okay, there's some motifs in here I really like. It's not all astrological, is it? Don't you love how I'm looking at the computer screen to watch? Do you guys see Scorpio? No, that's Cancer, isn't it? Scorpio is sometimes a little scorpion, but it's also this other symbol. I know it when I see it. Isn't it something similar to this? Like a squiggly thing? You know, like, you know what I mean? I learned this because, does anyone know Jimmy Bean's wool? We did this little pouch And they loved it. It was called a stitch marker pouch. And stitch markers, you know, a big deal in the knitting world. And crochet too, but they're a little different. I'm just looking for a Scorpio. Is it something like this? What the heck is it? Because I know like these are these two are astrological. I don't really know. But I love this little rain cloud. That is really cute. Oh well. You see left side, Scorpio. It's not this. This is Cancer. Huh. It's like an M with an arrow at the end point. That's it. It is a really weird... There is this arrow, but that's not an M. It may not be on here. Who knows? Maybe this is just, you know, gobbledygook. Well, that's okay. Under the pocket. That's what I was thinking. I was wondering if that was it. I knew there was some... Yeah, it's like an M, huh? Oh, well. Oh, well. Mine's not on here. Oh, wait, there's mine right there. Taurus, right? Don't you think that's Taurus? Looks a little menacing. Oh, that's awesome, Diane. Yeah, exactly. And that protective gear is so important, you know? All right, do some more. I'm so tempted to stitch the center back seam, and I can't tell if that's a compulsion because I've sewn a lot of jeans lately off camera because I was trying to do a video, and you've heard the saga. And, oh, I'm running out of thread. I knew I was going to, so I already wound a bobbin. I can't tell if it's because of that or if I'm just like, you know, let's protect it. You know how rayon, a center back seam on pants for rayon, it will get a little stretched out. They were crab legs. Yeah, exactly. I keep thinking the crab is it too. Yeah. Come on. Let me put my other one on here. So I'm still winding another one. It winds it while I sew. So nice, isn't it? Such a courteous machine. My first industrial, I used it for years without using the bobbin winder for some reason. I don't even know why. It just didn't even occur to me. My mechanic came and he ran out of bobbin while he was tuning my machine, and he very courteously went to set it back up to, what is going on here? He was like, oh, let me wind your bobbin for you, you know? He's like, oh, there's no spool of thread on this side. I was like, oh, yeah, here you go. Totally playing it off. Oof, let's just sew a little bit. There we go. Get that thread vomit on something else and not my pants. So after this, oh, what am I doing? What the heck? I don't know what I was doing just now. After this, let's see, we're going to sew on all the pockets. We'll do the center front. I should have done the center front rise on the fronts with the serger. I could have done that. This poor pocket now has 3 back tacks, and I'm not even done yet. Oh man, I don't know why I thought to do 2 at once on camera with the way this stuff is like so loosey-goosey and a little bit. So you'll notice like I turn it, I kind of pull, but then I relax because challis is a little bit stretchy. I don't want to stretch it out as I'm putting up. What is this? Okay, there we go. Hopefully, if I've done a good job cutting something on grain, if I fold it along a straight edge, it'll be a lot easier to keep it straight if it was cut on grain. This stuff's pretty hard to cut on grain sometimes, unless you're cutting it single layers and measuring to the selvage. I'm going to turn down this corner because my notch is making it splay out. Oh, I need to figure out where to put Cricket's, put her initial. I kind of wanted to do it on the back pocket. I think that's what I'll do. I'll just iron it onto the back pocket. Oh, yeah, exactly, Libby. So maybe this is it right here. Oh, that's interesting. That's cool, Suzanne. My family on my biological father's side, they lived in Alaska. There was a lot of working in the fish, you know, like the boats in the summertime. It was good money. But my grandfather worked in the Arctic Circle at an oil company. Whoops, just went one stitch past. I'm not really giving myself much of a triangle there. It looks so much deeper until I go to turn. My gosh, I should have just ironed all this. But no, I had to be a little try hard. Here we go. When's your birthday, Barbara? I think it's the M. I think this is it, Barbara. I think you're covered right there. It's a stylized one, you know? You know, when I was pregnant with my daughter, like I said, I don't really know a whole lot about astrological stuff. Like, you know, I hear the things about being a Taurus and whatever, and it's interesting and whatever, anecdotal. But I never heard more about astrological signs than when I was pregnant with my daughter and due in November, and everybody had an opinion about her being Scorpio. You know, can I just give anyone advice to anyone who knows someone who's pregnant? And if you think that their sign of their unborn child is problematic, just keep it to yourself. Sorry. It was very, you know, you're already like so, I was already so like, oh my God, I'm having a baby, you know? And then everyone in the world was like, oh, good luck having a Scorpio. What a handful. Did you know this about Scorpios? Did you know that? I'm like, no, I didn't know anything about Scorpios. I didn't even know she was going to be a Scorpio. You think I planned this? It's rude. All right. Late October. Oh, okay. You had a high school teacher named Mrs. Haskell. I love that. Remember Eddie Haskell? Was it Leave It to Beaver? I think my grandma watched that show or someone. All right, so we have our pockets on. This one was very problematic here. I'm wondering if it looks okay. All these start stops. Let's look at the inside and see how it looks. Yeah, look at all these start stops. We have some threads I pulled out that I didn't remove. This fabric is a very good argument to debate about if you should just use white serger thread when it comes to stuff like this, because some people will say yes so that it blends in and you don't see the black on it. Yes, Fiona. Good point. Yeah, that was one thing I found really rude and I didn't know how to handle very well. Because honestly, I was like, really? What do you mean? What does it mean? Oh, you'll find out. Not because you were Scorpio, Barbara. Well, good for your mom. I thought all kids were moody. All right, so here's our fronts. And again, I'm going to do, the reason I'm doing the center, usually I would treat these separately. I would do my pockets on each leg, and then I would put them all together. I'm going to do these with the fronts sewn together only because it's a long piece of fabric to deal with, and while it doubles my amount of fabric, at least I know I'll be able to tell the top from the bottom very easily. Okay, Carrie, good luck. Oh, good luck. Have a good lunch. I thought you were saying you were going to go to a meeting. She has a twin and they both taught English. That's awesome. Okay. So I'm just doing that so that it just simplifies it a little bit in the handling. It might not for some folks. So let's do our center front seam. And do we want to do anything to these pockets yet? No, not really. We're going to sew those so that, yeah, we'll just do that. Is there much of an opening there? You know, it might be easier to overlock this edge first. So if we sew this to that first, between the notches that, of course, I did not notch. Hopefully I notched them on here, though. I remember doing that. Right? I just want to see how much of an opening it is here. There's enough space to get my machine. Yeah, okay, great. So we could just overlock all of this. Let's do it. Let's be methodical here. We're going to move our iron. We're going to lay out our pockets here. I'm thinking, I changed the order of operations by doing it this way at the waist. Yeah. Okay. Okay. I'm thinking, I'm sewing in my head right now. So let's see here. I have my front, and we're going to sew this right sides together to here. We're going to do it on the back, and then we're going to end up with this on here, right, that we need to connect. So then we'll do this first. I'm wondering if I want to pre-serge my side seam. I have to think this through for a second. Let's see, we're gonna pretend like this is a front and then this is a back. I'm trying to find the simplest way to do this. Whoops. Okay, so we're gonna pretend like this is the front and this is the back, right? We're gonna sew this one here, right? Could I overlock that? I'd have to stop and go off, right? And then same with this one. We'll pretend like we've overlocked this, right? Okay, now we have our front and back, and now we're going to put it together. We have this seam here, we can go zoop. So let's do this separate. Or could we go like this with the serger? Do I want to do that? Not really. And then we'll have the single needle down to there. Yeah, I'm gonna try that. Let's see, could I do this? Serge around. I think I can. Let's do it. Thank you for bearing with me. Front, 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 front. All right. So we're going to do one pocket to each of these fronts. We're going to start at the, let's see, not quite at the waist here. Actually, we're going to do it right here. I'm just going to center it over that notch there. Oh, let me move the serger. And my thought process. Well, I mean, I'm definitely doing this quick and dirty, you know, like I could think this through a little better, but I'm also thinking about, I want these edges to be finished here, and it's really easy to end up with pockets that aren't finished right here, but they are everywhere else. So I was just trying to avoid that. So let's see. Because see, honestly, if this makes you nervous at all, what I would do is overlock these pieces separately. Then you won't have to worry about it. But that just means you have a, you'll have more bulk. And I'm trying to think, like, I'm wondering if I can make this corner right here with my serger. And I think I can, because they gave us a flange, which is nice. See that they gave us this little hook? That really helps. So we'll pretend like this seam is sewn. I can drop my my knife, and I can do it. Right? If you're nervous, definitely just serge it all separately, and then you can sew it together, and it'll be a lot easier. I just heard an alert. Ah, welcome, Shirley. If you're new here and you're watching live, welcome, welcome. We won't tell. Exactly. Some people have opinions of their opinions. Right? Oh my gosh. Right? Totally, Libby. I'm also thinking about this up here. So if I don't need this edge finished. This is the top of my pocket, right? But this edge I wouldn't mind. It doesn't actually matter. This is all going to get enclosed in the waistband. So technically, that's okay, right? So actually what we'll do is I'm going to overlock this from the waist down to the bottom of the pocket. I gotta get my foot pedal on the floor. It's barely reaching. Okay, so I'm not centering this over my notches. I want to line it up down here. I'm putting that notch kind of close, about a ½ inch down, because I didn't put the notch on the pocket. My bad. All right, there's one. And then we're going to do this one here. I'm going to start from the bottom. I'm just going to put that little hook about a ½ inch past the notch. With, you know what, the pattern's right here. I could look at it. So yeah, that notch it's about a ½ inch, about 5/8 inch up from the edge there. Just be consistent so that your pockets all line up front to back, especially if you did this fold version. Okay. I didn't do the center front seam yet. Oh, thanks, Barbara. Ray, our button liker. Ray is always thinking about us. All right, where's that notch? What the heck? I didn't do this. I know I notched them both. Well, let's put the notch on real quick. There it is. Things we do at our sewing machines, right? There we go. Hey, Mafia, how's it going? I ended up making, oh, let's see, I think about 10, right? Maybe 11. But I did have something exciting happen today, Mafia. Exciting in a not so good way. I'll tell you when I'm done serging here. Okay, there's another one. We're batch sewing, kind of, but whew, fiddly, 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 fiddly. I usually, I now only sew my pockets on, dang it, with French seams. That sounds so stuck up, doesn't it? It's not, I promise. I just like the way they fit and feel. All right, let me get my backs. Oh, let's do our center front rise here too. Let's pick, let's see here. This one can go with that one. I'm just looking at the fronts to make sure I'm not, okay, they're all about the same. All right, great. We're gonna do the center front rise. Susie, hello. We don't tell at all on anybody ever. Like, you know, first rule of Sew Club. You know what the first rule is? Thank you, Terry. Troll in the dungeon. Oh yeah, so my story, Mafia. So I decided, like, on a whim, as I was walking to the restroom, I was like, you know what? I'm gonna throw this cozy, this soup bowl cozy I made on Saturday, last Saturday before the stream. I tested them out since I was streaming on Tuesday, and I usually have Tuesday before Wednesday because I'm off. When Mondays I'm not here, so I was like, okay, I'm coming in on Tuesday and I'm gonna stream that day. I wanted to make sure I knew what I was doing. So I sewed one, and I didn't change my thread out for that one, like to cotton thread. So I used, get my backs here. I used just polyester thread on it. And so I just thought, you know, a lot of people in the chat were really adamant about this. So I wonder how serious is this? So I tried sewing one, microwaving one bowl that I had used. I'm sorry, I'm totally ruining the story. Anyway, I put one in the microwave and it caught fire. Dreadfully boring story made exciting. So yeah, anyway, make sure you use cotton thread. I came out of the bathroom and I smelled literal fire, and there were embers. I had to take it outside, and it took forever for it to go out. This fabric is so whooshy. It's such a pain in the butt to sew. All right. So I'm just sewing all my pocket openings. Because my pocket's on the fold, it does make this a little bit funky. The fold thing was not necessary. I just wanted to show that you can do that. And sometimes this is a good example of sometimes putting something on the fold, saving you seam, does not save you the fiddle factor. This has a fiddle factor of about a 7.5 out of 10 right now. You know? Yeah. Okay, Elizabeth. Yeah, be sure to use cotton thread. But other people have said that that didn't happen to them. So I don't know, maybe it's my microwave. But here, do you want to see it? Here, I'll show it to you guys. It's in my stories. Wait till you see this. You're going to be like, oh my God. Look at this. Literally, it was on fire. Like, I'm not exaggerating. I'm not going to turn it over. There were actual burned, like, embers in there. It did a good job of igniting the fabrics. I did a good job of igniting the microwave. Rip, exactly. Rest in peace, soup bowl cozy. It actually smells very cozy in the lobby now, like we had a little bonfire in there. So it did give us that. Sarah, oh yeah, sorry, I didn't miss that. Yeah, I know. That's from the thread. Yeah, so polyester thread. I'll tell you what it was. It was this one. It was 100% poly. Spun poly, it says. Yeah. Excitement, excitement, excitement. That's what my mom would say. So I walked out of the bathroom and I was like, oh my God, I smell fire. And I knew instantly it was that. So everything else on the cozy was cotton fabric, cotton batting. And it was the batting that was actually mentioned in the instructions of that free pattern. So I happen to have the Warm and Natural because that's all my quilt store carries. So yeah. Yeah, exactly. Malin, I actually thought that. I was like, putting this in here with nothing in it is probably a bad idea. Oh, I know, Nancy. Well, I'm glad that I switched, you know. I'm getting lost in the sauce here. Here we go. Here we go. Yeah, see, I think putting it in there with nothing, because I didn't have anything to put on it. I just threw it in there. I was like, I'll just chuck this in here. I honestly thought what would happen was the thread would melt, and that's it. And it would become hard plastic. That's what I thought was going to happen. And the other office person, renter in here, he was like, oh. Because I was like, I promise I'm not burning it down. He was like, oh, that's okay, that's okay. And so he opened the door. He was really nice. Helped me out. Meanwhile, I think the property manager was like in visual distance from the front door showing someone an office down there, and they were looking at me because I walked out with something smoking and set it on the ground and was stomping on it. Oh man, you guys. All right, Barbara, see you later. Okay, so let's see here. So this is what we've got. Let me just show you where we're at and what it looks like, because I find that to be really helpful sometimes, you know. So right now, We have our fronts. This is the center front rise right here. We sewed this seam here. We have the pockets overlocked to the front. And then the back, same thing. We have this back rise here, and then we have them serged here. So now what I'm gonna do now is I'll connect all this, right? So here, I'm just gonna use my straight stitch machine and sew it there. Oh, but this isn't overlock. Oh no, it doesn't need to be. It doesn't need to be, it's gonna be tucked into the waist, that's right. So right now what I am left with is this side seam, and I'm hoping that I can actually overlock this with my machine. So I'm gonna try and do this out seam now, which is the side seam. I'll try it out. Microwave cozy suit. I had put the trial one in the microwave this morning just to see how bad is it if you use polyester thread, because there were a few people that were like, you better make sure that that's cotton thread, and I was kind of like, okay, you know. They were absolutely correct. My hat is off to them for being so diligent in convincing me. No, the one I made one last Saturday just test it out. All right, so let's try this here. I'm gonna put this on the fold line here. So now my serger, I can drop this blade when I get up here. If you can't do that, let me give you some tips. So when we get to this, let me put my pant up here on the table so it's not pulling on the serger, right? So when you get to this little juncture here, make sure your pocket is lined up. If it's a little bit off, we're gonna be able to fix that by sewing a little seam right here if we want, okay? So when I get to this corner, remember, when you're serging something like this, your blade is almost a full inch in front of your machine sewing, right? So the blade gets there first. So it's going to get there before the needle's there. So you have to pivot with the blade first and then try and finesse it with the sewing as it follows, right? So we're gonna get here. My seams are all pressed towards the pocket right now. And then now is the time to pivot, right? Because here's the blade. It's already cutting. I'm gonna try and keep that out of the way. I'm gonna pull this over a little bit more though, like that. And like I said, I can drop the blade on my machine, so if you can do that, I would recommend doing it. And then you don't have to worry about it at all. One of the interesting things about this pattern I found, and I haven't looked at it further, I just noticed it when I was cutting it out, was the bottom hem, the way the grade goes is it looks like it's flipped, and I don't think it is. But be careful when you're cutting yours out, because when you get down to here on the inseam side, the extra small is over here and the large is over here. It's flipped how it normally would look. I haven't really investigated to see why that is. It's not common for that to happen, but it doesn't look technically wrong. It doesn't look like the hem circumference is getting bigger with smaller size. It's not flipped that way. It's just flipped visually. Like I said, I haven't looked at it. It's not my job to test people's patterns, you know. But I would be sure that you cut on the correct line, because you might assume all of a sudden when you get to where it flips that you're supposed to go to the smaller one when it's not the case. In other words, just print your size out. Use the layers feature and print your size out, and you won't have to worry about it at all. Okay, so here I am with that blade. Really trying to catch in that corner, and I'll probably go back and use my straight stitch machine to make sure I have a nice smooth transition and the edge isn't poking out. On my other pair, I'm going to drop the blade. Come on, trim a little, please. Okay, let's do our inseam while we're here. Flip it over, do the inseam. We're about to be to the last steps. The fun part, the waistband. All right, where's the inseam? Here's the inseam, and I'm going to flip this thickness one way and the other. So here's the rise. I wonder if there would be a way to set up my stream where I'd have a face cam on all my machines. I was thinking about a way where my computer was on a sliding thing. So it slid in front of each setup. I don't think that'll work though. This floor is really uncomfortable. Like my one foot is on the carpet and one's not. And I have to stand on one leg. Make sure all these little threads are to the seam allowance so that they're not poking. I haven't been very diligent about it, but you know, these little threads right here, when they flip in there, then you're like cutting them afterward. It just looks sloppy, you know. It happens really easily, like that one right there, you know. If you can, slide it out to the seam allowance. Get rid of it now. I'm gonna do the hems later because one of these is gonna be 2 inches shorter. All right, so now we have pants. And here's that juncture. It looks pretty good, pretty well caught, but I'm gonna probably make sure, reinforce it, and then sew up a little bit and define the opening a little bit, because I have to do that at the top anyway. All right, let's do one more. Okay. So let's see, put our bottom of the pocket and the side seam together. Okay. Rayon is so heavy, you know? Giving myself a little center notch where that fold was would have been handy. All right, so when I get up to here through this little juncture here, I can drop my blade right here. I actually don't want to. I don't think you really have to, because you don't want to sew it so that you're not trimming anything, because if you don't trim anything, it'll, like that, it'll bunch up the fabric. Like, did you see that little stutter with the cut, because I misaligned it as I was trying to line it up. All right, I'm gonna put my hems together. And then I kind of do this whole thing where I straighten it out like this, And then I hold it. So I have my whole pant here. If you're new to using a serger, it's a really good practice to try not to use pins. In fact, just don't use pins. I know that's easier said than done, but if you do, just pin over here. No matter how diligent you are about not accidentally serging over your pin, some of them are sneaky. And it's a $35 blade that they probably don't have in stock. Let's put it that way. And it's also just not good for the machine. You can throw your timing off. Timing is what you're really worried about with a machine, is the timing. Tension, no big deal. Timing, very big deal. Oof, and all this stuff like pulling on my machine is not that good. It kind of makes it so that it could put stress on the needles, and you don't want that, because then the needles will bend while they go into the machine, and that can throw your timing off too. Look at this really long tail. I'm like, sheesh, get in there. Get into the bucket. Look at these little threads here. No, no, no. I have a feeling I have a lot of those sneaking out of my seam. All right, so let's line this up again. Oh, and after the stream today, I will be posting the neck warmer pattern and the oven mitt updated pattern with instructions. That's what I'm sewing tomorrow, so if you want to join in, you can use scrap fabric for those. The oven mitt also needs heat resistant materials, but don't worry about the thread thing. You're not sticking those in the microwave. I mean, I don't. You shouldn't, actually, because a lot of folks use something called Inseam, and that does look like it has metal in it, so don't use those. Oh, I already did decide. Did I really? Oh, yeah, okay. Inseam time. It's kind of interesting. The oven mitt and the, I kept getting those two confused. In fact, it was a little bit like one of those things where I kept getting the materials for each one confused, because they seem on the surface like they're doing the same thing, but they're doing the opposite. The oven mitt's protecting you from heat, so you want it to, repel heat, right? Whereas the cozy is supposed to attract heat and keep things warmer, or your hands protected from heat, right? But there is this insulation that people use in those called something warm tater. And it's meant to probably extend the warmth of your soup bowl cozy once it's maybe, I don't know, to insulate it. And whereas an oven mitt, you're trying to not take on any heat. So in other words, don't use Inseam on your soup bowl cozy if you're going to put it in the microwave. But if you're using the soup bowl cozy like a pot holder, maybe you use Inseam. There's a lot of ways to think about it. We're getting bots today, Terry? Is that what you're telling me? Are we that popular? The bots have found us. I've been getting a lot less bots commenting on my videos, which mostly YouTube catches those, but I have to go and hide them and delete them all the time. It's annoying. I'm kind of smoothing out this rough cut edge in some places where maybe a wrinkle got a little bit crazy. Oh, look at that. There's a little chunk there. We'll just pretend like that never existed. They love me now. It was so interesting that only on the when we got 10,000 subscribers video that we actually got that one that kept plaguing the chat. Remember that? All right. Let's go back to the other machine. Ooh, I can't wait to sit down. I'm back. I can't even see what it was, and I'm in the control room. Okay, so let's see. Up here at the top, I'm just going to finish this side seam, right? But let's make sure everything's laying flat. Because it's really easy, like, oh, you got this all done. Oh, I'm just going to sew that. But what if your front and your back were a little bit misaligned? So you need to make sure this is all laying nice and flat right here. Right? Because if you just lined it up, right, and it was a little misaligned, you'd get like a little gap in your pocket, you know? You don't want that. I should iron this, honestly. And that's pretty good. So I'm just going to sew down to the top of the pocket. Where that notch should be. I think that's it right there. That's it, right? I wish I had that. Oh, where's that notch at? Yeah, that's the notch right there. So I'm going to go a little further. Okay. Just so they're consistent. And you can check it, you know, check your opening, put your hand in there. I'm going to go up a little bit here. Let's look at my transition right here and see how that looked. It's not bad. But we're going to clean it up just a little bit more. So here's this pocket right here. Let's secure these serger threads a little bit. Is this the, this is the front. So I'm going to just fold them towards the underside here. Okay. Pockets are fussy. So I'm just going to go straight up from this side seam, just a little bit, like a ½ inch up, and make sure that these seams that your pocket was sewn to the front, make sure they're stacked. Do your best. And if they're not, just make sure you're not sewing on one of them. Make sure you're sewing to the left of them. Like this. This is also an opportunity, if you want, you could even go a little bit further in, and then it kind of hides the opening when you're wearing them. And then let's look at this transition. Perfect. Okay, let's do our other one. These little touches really make the difference with your pockets. If you're a beginner sewist, it's kind of a way to make your sewing look even better. Like if you're feeling a little like self-conscious about it or something, like don't be, because a lot of this, first of all, once they're done, they're going to be fantastic, right? Like even if they're a little funky, it doesn't matter. Like some of that stuff just kind of goes away in your eye. And when you start looking at ready to wear stuff, you start realizing, wow, my stuff doesn't look much different, you know? They're not doing that much better of a job in a lot of cases. So you have a lot of leeway. You're doing a lot better than you think you are. And so don't be too hard on yourself. Second of all, if you're giving them away, they're going to be thrilled. And third of all, if you are feeling a little self-conscious, the top things to do, trim your threads. Absolutely trim your threads everywhere you go, inside and out. It makes a big difference. And then do little things like this to kind of just finesse the areas like this, because if you don't, maybe that might be a weak point or something, you know. All right, so we're just gonna, because this right now, if I didn't, like once I just sewed this seam, if I didn't, well, let's see, I'll do the seam right here and then I'll show you what I mean. There's just something about it that's just not as nice, you know? Okay, wait, we want to make sure this is nice and flat, even if it's a little misaligned. That's more important. Well, we don't want it that misaligned. Come on. Is it that misaligned? Let's get this round to behave a little bit here. Like that, like it can do that. Oh my gosh. There we go. All right, put the pants on the table. Don't let them hang off when you're trying to figure this stuff out because it's really heavy and it'll distort it. And it just makes it fiddly and unpleasant to sew. It is a little bit off, isn't it? Okay. That's not as bad as I thought. Okay, good. All right, we got that going. And so now I make sure those seams are stacked on one another and then make sure I sew to the left of it a little bit. And we go down to where the notch was. Because remember, we extended the height of the pocket. So now we'll look at this, how it looks without it. And press, press, press. Yes, ironing makes a massive difference. Yeah, I didn't really finish my list, did I, Libby? Thank you. And I'm definitely was the biggest like offender of not pressing very much for a while. So you see like this right here, it's okay. Like my seam isn't very lined up to it. Can you see that? So I'll show you. This is a seam right here. My awl is running along the seam of the pocket and then here's a seam. So look, they're almost 1/4 inch off, right? And so what we can do now is I'm going to sew up this seam a little bit. So we're going to tighten up this opening and it's going to make this pocket kind of disappear into the little slit here a little bit more. Ironing, I should have ironed. I should have ironed when I was over there. I'm being lazy because the serger is kind of a pain in the butt to move. And I'm so used to production sewing that you don't get to iron with that. All right, so we're going to doing little things like, oh, are my pocket openings the same size as from left to right? It doesn't have to be the same size from pant to pant, but left to right, because that's something you notice when you're putting your hand in, and it's kind of annoying, you know? All right, so then I sewed that seam up, and now it just looks nicer because it kind of disappears in there a little better, right? It's like this nice continuous seam. All right. So these are ready for elastic, yeah. Yeah, okay. And we'll give them a little press before we do that. Okay, so same thing. Let's do the bottom first. I'm really hoping I have my pocket notches. Here, let's finish this too. Get rid of this long old tail. Things like this. This really extends the life of your pocket if you secure these little threads because they will start kind of ooching off the seam there. These aren't industrial overlocks we get to use, which wouldn't do that. Unless you're buying a really nice home overlock. There we go. Trim all these threads. I'm doing it on this side because this is theoretically the side that's going to be hidden. Kind of, you know. Hey Amy, how's it going? Yeah, I know. It is, it's really good. Like I think there's so many things like when you're learning, like there's so much information, you know, and it's so easy to just be like, oh, I just can't really take on one more thing to do, you know. So sometimes if you just focus on a couple things like, okay, I'm going to make sure I iron as I go and trim my threads. That's all, right? That makes a big impact. And I've actually judged things before, like like for fairs and stuff, and for sewing things and stuff. And I will tell you, like, I've seen a lot of beginning sewing, and the people who trim their threads and iron it, they may have a less well sewn together item, but it looks visually nothing. Your eye isn't drawn to something like a wrinkle or something that's a little bit wonky, that the iron can kind of beat into submission, right? And your eye's not drawn to a thread just because they did those things. I always had a suspicion that that was a parent or a teacher getting involved going, all right, let's get these ready for the fair, you know? And it's interesting because I belonged to 4-H where I was not teaching sewing. But in 4-H, it's very kid-led. Like, parents aren't really supposed to do anything for the kids. And I think in school, kids get away with a lot more parental help. If your kid needs help, you help them, you know what I mean? But at the same time, like, it's an empowering thing, and the kids love it. They love that they're just, like, not gonna, like, no, mom and dad, like, this is my thing. And the parents are like, yeah, you're right, this is your thing. And it's very much like a part of the kind of the ethos of it, right? And so you see those differences it makes a big difference, you know? Like those little things, those little touches. You can't change stubborn, though. That has to happen from within. Oh, God, this is so freaking fiddly, this fabric. See, I should have ironed this. It would be a lot less fiddly. Do you love how I'm preaching all this and I'm not following it? I'm about to. Stack the seam. Sometimes what I do is I can't even grab this. Thanks, Lashana, for subscribing. Welcome, welcome. I will take this seam like this, like I'll put it in between my thumb and my finger right here, right? Can you see there's a little seam right here? Meow. It's a little dark. So where this line of light blue ends, that's a seam. I put that and I place it where I want it to be. I'm like, I'm gonna place you right on top of this other seam right here. I just tell it like that's what I want you to do. Rather than trying to slide it around, you know? Okay, where is my notch? And why can't I see it? Is this it right here? That's it, okay. Trying to get it so that my presser foot doesn't get pushed away. All right, so we have our pocket openings on each side, right? No, we didn't do this side. Oh, I didn't do this side. Okay, great. I did that though. That's funny. And on this side, I'm just going a 1/2 inch up from the bottom of the pocket to the notch, basically, just defining it. It just makes the pocket disappear into the side seam a little better. Because you see sometimes jammies and it looks kind of lumpy right here at this juncture of the pocket to the pant, you know, and it kind of sticks out from the body. Another thing you can do is stitch down your seam allowance towards the pocket. That helps too. Using a pocket facing can decrease the bulk too sometimes, and it can also add to it, so just gotta be careful. Oh, 4-H is a American organization dedicated to teaching kids how to manage a project. And the 4-H's stand for head, heart, health, and hands. And the mission, the little like pledge is really cute. And it's basically like they pledge their heart to their community, their health. It's something, oh God, I can't think of the pledge right now. But their hands, like, to greater service, you know, so it's like a very hands-on type of organization. And a lot of people think of it as, like what Nancy said, doing animals and livestock management and doing things like raising an animal and taking it to the fair and getting auctioned, but it's actually not. It's just a very convenient form for that. And that is a great way to manage a project. But there's also FFA, which is Future Farmers of America. You can do that as well, but that's a high school and above program. But with 4-H, like my kid didn't raise livestock. She didn't have any interest in that, even though we did raise livestock. She did like photography, and so 4-H theoretically is supposed to find a leader for any project your kid wants to learn. So if you go there and you're like, I want to learn blacksmithing, they will reach out. If you have a good leader, they will reach out to the community and look for someone who's interested in giving their time to leading a project in 4-H. So then the kids have this opportunity to do that, right? And then sometimes if someone's just like, I don't really have time for that someone might step in and help them lead the project, you know? But a project can be on anything. I did fairy houses, fairy gardens, knitting, backyard chickens, I don't know. I did some really small kid-friendly things because it was hard to find projects for really young kids. Where's my notch, man? It just disappears with serging. I have little tricks for preventing them from disappearing with serging, and I didn't use them, so it's kind of annoying. So we'll just use this side over here as our guide, right? But the whole idea of it is you manage a whole project from start to finish, and then you do a presentation. The presentation is kind of really important in 4-H, and so when kids take their animals to the fair, that's their presentation. So, but like with photography, my daughter would enter her photography into the fair, or maybe they would do, like there was even a, what was that called? There was a whole thing on, there's a presentation day where you had to just do a presentation on something. It could be on how to make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. I saw plenty of those. It was all about how you presented. So it's really, really good in reinforcing public speaking. Future homemakers. Oh, interesting. FHA. I think I've heard of that. It was gone when you got to high school. Huh. Interesting. All right, did I do all these? They seem a little wonky, but you know. All right, let's iron a little bit. I really like 4-H on paper. There's some issues with it for me, but at the same time, like, God, it is a really great organization. And my daughter, people say, like every teacher she had asked us point blank, is your daughter in 4-H? They can tell. She has a lot of personal anxiety. She's very nervous. You know, she does a lot of things, but man, can she speak publicly. It's pretty incredible. All because of 4-H. If you have a kiddo who wants to overcome some of that and make high school a breeze for presentations, I highly recommend it. Because they teach it in such a gentle way that it doesn't seem at all like a scary thing. And they also run their own meetings. They have their own government. There's a president and a vice president, and the parents are not. They are there as an advisory, but they are not leading the meetings. Kids lead the meetings, all of it. They call for motions and voting. All the kids vote on things. It's really interesting. Parents have to sometimes hope they're going to vote a certain way, and they don't. So you never know. Okay, come on, iron. You were warmed up for me. I can still smell the microwave thing. Oh, man. All right, let's turn these right side out. Let's check them out. So these are the front. At least with those back pockets, I can really tell, right? Which one's the back. These are crazy pants, man. Literal crazy pants. wasn't paying attention. I'm getting wrinkles on everywhere else while I try and do the pockets because I didn't iron them as I go. Oh, I'm just eating my own words, aren't I? Oh my gosh, it's so hard. I wish I had an ironing board right now. They would be really it would be really handy. I can try my salami, but I don't think it's big enough. There it is. See you, Elwin. How's it going? Or how's it going? Have a good one. Multitasking at its finest. All right. It was kind of fun to see people at a different time yesterday. I'm going to do that later time on Friday too. All right. Oh yeah, this is a little easier. See, like I like to pull the pocket like this and kind of get it all lined up and then press it. Because it's very bulky right there. Okay. All right, so our next is putting the elastic on. And I'm going to do it 2 different ways. Yeah, that's the way. There we go. Make sure that pocket's laying flat in there. Press all the seam allowances towards the front. Line it all up. See how nice and flat that looks now. This turns, see, this turns like its version of shiny when it's getting ironed. I hope that goes away. Usually it goes away. Like on reds, do you ever iron reds and you're like, oh my God, I ruined my fabric. But see how lumpy and bumpy? I see so many people take pictures of their homemade their like pants like this with inseam pockets, and it looks like this. It doesn't have to. The best thing to do, honestly, is to, when you sew your pocket onto the pant, then top stitch it right here on the inside of the pocket. So on the pocket side, stitch through the seam allowance, pressing the seam allowance towards the pocket. And then do that for both sides. Press the seam allowance towards the pocket and stitch it down. It's on the inside of the pocket. No one will see it. It'll make it lay flatter. Oh, it turns really dark on your screen. It's turning really light for me. All right, so we're gonna get situated. You see it's getting a little shiny right there? This is a little dark, huh? I'm just gonna brighten it up just a tad. Ooh, it's already so bright. I'm gonna take it down. There we go. And then bring it back up. Oh, when you turn red, you iron red, it turns dark. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I know what you mean. It's a little upsetting, isn't it? Okay. So we have these pockets that we want to be included in the waistband. These are so small, it's like hard to get in here, right? So we're going to lay this pocket where it needs to lay in relation to the waistline here. You can see why a company wouldn't, oh, look at this seam allowance pressing this way. Didn't really get pressed this way, did it? All right, so let's lay this nice and flat. You want this parallel to your waist seam here, and I'm just gonna pin it. You can see why a pattern company doesn't do this. This is a little bit too much to explain, right? You could go all the way to the waist, by the way. You really can. just remember you've added 2 layers of fabric that are getting now folded over. Totally fine though. If the fabric's really thick like a flannel, you might not want to do that. So there you go. And then we'll get this one. Push it towards the front. Just kind of getting it nice and flat in there. Make sure it's going to hang nice. Make sure I'm not pulling that pocket open. All right, and look, it's still nice and parallel. All right, we'll pin it. You could probably, you know, put a few basting stitches here. No, I've wondered about that too, Hannah. Personally, it looks problematic. It's not a set-in sleeve. Have you ever seen any, like, looked at the hashtag? That would be a good one to submit for my hashtag review. All right, so let's get our elastic out. I'm using a 1 1/4 inch elastic. This one's a non-roll, so it has those rectangles on it. See it? Usually I use a braided elastic I really like. Okay, Terry, thanks for modding. I've got it in control room today so I can handle it. All right, so let's see. They recommend, okay, I will say, this pattern doesn't have any finished measurements except an outseam. That was kind of disappointing because that's what made me decide, like, okay, I'm just going to go for the size that my daughter fits in the size chart, but I feel like they could have been a little smaller. The grain line is this big on the pattern, and there's no hip line marked, so I couldn't tell quite where it was measured at, so I just decided to go big. It's going good, Carrie. I'm just about to do the fun part, put the elastic on. So let's see, their recommendation is to, let's see, to find the elastic, low rise, high hip, measure your high hip, 2 inches below your navel. What? Measure your high hip. Making low rise, measure your high hip, 2 inches below your navel. Okay, if making the regular rise, okay, subtract 1 1/2 to 2 inches from this measurement depending on comfort. I'm going to subtract 1 1/2 inches. My daughter's waist measurement's 24. I'm looking for a tape measure. I have a foot thing here. Do 24, and then I'm going to do 1 1/2 inches less. And then we're going to put it in a circle. I'm just going to overlap it 1/2 inch. And you really need to make sure this is very, very secure. So just go over it a bunch of times. All right, because you want to be able to pull on it, right? I will make 2 of those. They're the same size, except one of them is taller. So the things to think about when you're figuring out this measurement is that when it's sewn to the fabric is going to keep it slightly stretched. They say to French seam the sleeve side seam, but then when I turn it right side out, it's going to do that, Hannah. Yeah, because it's not a armhole. You're not stupid at all. Yeah. So I've only made the short sleeve version of that because it just has the little band. And for that top, because it doesn't have an actual, armhole, we'll do a little bit of a picture real quick. Because that sleeve, it looks like this, right? Tell me if I'm wrong. Right, here's the front, right? Here's the little collar. So the short sleeve has a little band right here. But the long sleeve, you just attach it to this, right? So because there's no armhole, your armhole's right here, right? Which look there, then that's almost a right angle to the side seam. You don't have that, right? So you're trying to do a French seam on this curve. So the thing to think about is, you know how when I talk about fabric, say, you know, like this waist is a good example. This waist is not straight, right? It's got kind of a gentle curve to it, right? So if I were to measure along this raw edge and then measure when it's folded where that raw edge was going to land on the fabric, it'd be a different measurement, right? And, oh, the Mercer, yeah. Yeah, I haven't had trouble sewing the mellow low, but I haven't done the long sleeve for this precise reason. Because this seam, like if you were to measure this distance here where the seam allowance ends and compare it to the seam, this is obviously longer. You can even just see that it's going to be a longer distance, right? So to try and do a French seam like that is a little tricky. You have to clip a lot. So you're going to have to clip in this little area here, clip into your seam allowance a lot before you do the second pass. And you're still going to get a lot of pulling. You would get that pulling even if you overlocked this and didn't use a French seam, and that's because it's not an armhole. See my video. Yeah, that's why. You're not stupid at all. I mean, your feelings, yeah, you're not at all. That is exactly why it's hard. So it'll probably be cute when it's done. All right, so now we have our second elastic. So the things you want to think about with your elastic is when it's sewn, and even if you're not sewing it in this style, I'm only overlapping it like a ½ inch. Because there's a lot of fabric in the waist of the pant, that kind of keeps your elastic slightly stretched a little bit. Now all elastics are different. This elastic feels pretty firm. So say that her waist was even smaller and I had to get this in here, like this is actually, let's make sure we can actually get this in here. Oh yeah, we can. This is some firm elastic, right? So because of that, then that's why you wouldn't cut the elastic the waist measurement. So because of, especially if you did flannel, this is not going to be a big deal. This rayon's not really going to keep the elastic stretched. But if you're doing this in flannel, which is a really common fabric, or a quilting cotton, it's going to keep your elastic a little bit stretched. And we're trying to compensate for that by trimming off a little bit. I didn't do 2 inches, I did 1.5 inches because I'm also going to, I like to overlap it like that. So this will be enough. It's okay if it's a little bit, you know, loose. This is good though. All right, so on this one, I'm going to try this idea of not using the serger and stitching it down. But let's get rid of this juncture here, not matching, right? Let's smooth this out because I wanted my pockets to lay flat and I must have gotten that one on a little bit wonky. So look at all your junctures here and make sure you have a smooth transition. I've never done this before. I've only done this on serger, but I'm pretty sure it's possible. So let's see, if I do this right sides together, then it's going to be like that. And then, now we want to do like this. Down here, like this. No, wait, this is possible, right? Do this. And then yeah, I think that's possible. It's not going to be something I'm going to be a big fan of. But if you don't have a serger, this is how you can, stitching your elastic directly to the waistband is so nice because it makes it so that the elastic doesn't twist in the casing. And I don't know about you, but I hate putting elastic in a casing. It's kind of fiddly. Sometimes I used to get through lots of projects and then I wouldn't do the last step because I hated putting the elastic in. They'd be all done. All right, so we're going to quarter our waist here. And so we're going to use the center front and center back for 1/4, but the side seam isn't directly in half here. So we're just going to line up our seam here at the center front and center back. And I'm just going to put a little like clip here so that I know. It's very visual. Trim those little threads there. So see, I put a little V there. Very visual. You want it to be really visual too, especially if you're using the serger. I'm going to use the serger on the other one if you're looking for that tutorial. I have a dedicated video for it too, if you don't want to listen to me yammer on. All right, so now we have our waistline in quarters, right? 1, 2, 3, 4. We're going to do the same thing with our elastic. So decide where your center is. I'm just going to do it on both sides so I don't accidentally get it confused. Now do it in half. And then line up those centers and then do your others. Okay. Quarters is a good distance to be able to hold and stretch. All right, so we're going to talk a little bit about stretching things and sewing them on with your sewing machine. I always stress this because it's not hard. The trick is do not stretch after you start sewing. So pull it stretched, hold it that way, sew. If you need to take a break, stop sewing, relax, get it situated again, stretch, then sew, holding it stretched. Because when it's held stretched, you're not stretching it. It's static, right? The machine has no clue. But if you're going to pull on it while it's going through the machine, that's when you can get some really bad stuff happening with your machine. Really throw the timing off. Because remember, when you bend your needle and you sew on a bent needle and you don't know it for a while, then it's striking things underneath. You can end up bending something and throwing off the timing, and that's just not good. Okay. All right, so let's find our center back, which is that one. And I'm going to sew this right sides together, essentially, right? So make sure you put your elastic, like see how I just did this? It's like, don't do this. Don't put your elastic up to it with the circle here and the circle here. You want to flip it around and put the circle towards the pants, right? Just like this. I'm not going to notch, or I'm not going to pin this, but I am going to turn my pants inside out. Because I don't have a free arm. If you have a free arm on your machine, you don't have to. But my bed's flat of my table on my machine. There it is. Okay. All right, and we'll put our center back lump of overlapped right there, right? And so we're going to start, and I'm just going to line it up to the raw edge, all right? Just 1/8 of an inch seam, all right? And now I'm already sewing, and now I'm going to line this up with this other chalk here, like this. My needle's down. I'm going to stretch and pull, hold it like this, and now we're going to sew. And as it comes out of the machine there, it's going to be scrunched up nice and evenly. Ooh, this elastic is really thick. All right, I need a little break here. We're going to do our next section. Now, you remember, like I said, you have to have the elastic matching the pant. Don't do it separate, otherwise you'll have to stop and start again. I like all kinds of things, Carrie. I have to admit, I kind of gravitate towards different things. What I like about some of the jerseys is that they're kind of thick. You know, some of them are kind of thick. I really personally like a microfiber, micro denier knit. I really like the stretch recovery of those. You can get it places like Bra Maker Supply or places like that. But I love my like bamboo ones and my rayon tencel ones a lot. Like those are some of my favorites. And I'm also learning that Christy's right, Pico reigns supreme over fold over. All right, so here's my next chalk right there, and I doubt you can see it, but it's there. I'm going to line my seam up, press my seam allowances towards the front, hold this firm, my needle's down, stretch it. I'm going to hold it back here so that it doesn't like, I'm not pulling it out of the needle, so I'm kind of keeping it static right here. I really want that lined up, but there we go. Is this the center? What is this? This is the side seam. Oh yeah, this is the side seam. I'm pressing that towards the front. All right. Hold it back here because you're trying to kind of escort the fabric through in a stretched position. Doesn't matter which way your center front presses. Press it whatever you want. I wouldn't worry about it. Here's the same thing. Here's my next side seam. Here's my next chalk. Pressing it towards the front. Stretch. Get that lined up. If you need more than quarters, go for it, you know. So there's my notch. Oh, I wonder if that's what I did before. Did I do that before? I hope I did. See, there's the chalk and there's that cutout I did. These little threads here, just stop, push them to the raw edge. It's okay. Take your time with it. Get this lined up a little better. Okay, we're back at the beginning. All right, and look at how nice and even our gathers are. Now we're going to turn this twice. Like I've never done this before, but this, I'm pretty sure this is how they describe it in the directions. And we're going to fold it. We're going to do this twice? Really? Yeah, I knew I wouldn't be a fan of this. This might be thick for your machine. Just going to tell you. You like standard cotton lycra, Malin? Yeah, I like them to hold me in a little. That's a good way to say that because that's what I like about the micro denier. Yeah, I know, Carrie, right? 50 yards is not that much, though. It goes quick. You need almost 2 yards per pair of underwear because of legs and waist. You need a little over. Do you have scraps from projects you could try by any chance? Look how small this waist opening is. It's kind of small to work in. I don't know about this, you guys. I am definitely suspicious. I'm going to start at the side seam. I'm just going to try. I'm folding it twice because we're clean finishing it. We're going to stretch it and fold it over. Remember, we're catching in this pocket. This will work. This is going to work. It's going to look nice. Look at that. Look how nice that looks. Make sure none of your pant is creeping under there. Why are you looking like that? So you got to hold it. Trying to get my seam lined up. Hi, Eliza. Oh, you haven't? Okay. It's white. Yeah, you don't white. Yeah, okay, I understand. Where's the studio? Well, there's pins up kind of high here. I was kind of hoping this would be sitting a little bit lower. My pocket pins have come out, so let's redo those. This is kind of awkward to do this now. Why'd they come out? Too much handling. This is what I don't like about those pins. They come out. That's why I don't use them a lot. I like those chunky magic pins, but they're too short for everything. You could try an old t-shirt, but I don't know if it's enough fabric. Oh, I keep pulling that out. There we go. Put that in there. My seam did not line up at the center front and it's bugging me. Dang, the serger's a lot easier to do this with. While you get a nice clean waistband here, this is pretty fiddly. You get a nice clean waistband and your elastic won't roll by doing this too. We'll just soldier on here. Once it's stretched, it kind of behaves. I'm really hoping on the outside. I'm trying to pull on the pant. Like I'm pulling this way, and this is why I keep tucking my pocket, but I'm pulling so that it makes sure that I'm not getting anything weird on the right side, you know? Yeah, that's a good idea, Aisha. They have a different stretch. That's okay. I don't find that makes a difference. I think it's kind of nice having a variety of underwear that fit a little differently, personally. I have moods and I have different garments I wear them under, you know? Oof. See, that seam keeps getting off. I'm going to try and get it back on track right here. Let's see if I can get this to stay. You can pin this if you want. See how pulling it, it kind of snugged it up there. You don't want to over pull it, but I just don't like I'm getting this bubble every time I do that. God. This is flippin' fiddly. Oh, interesting, Carrie. Okay. When you see me do this on a serger, it's going to make you buy a serger. I just don't like it. It keeps creeping in there. Can't see very well. Yeah, that, for my first time, I mean, they're, oh, look at that, yeah, because it's a little bit wonky. Oh, that's okay. That's going to straighten out. All right. Okay, I made it. I survived. Okay, let's see how it looks. So now our pockets are permanently towards the front. See? There's the pocket. They won't flip to the back. That is a very nice touch. Yeah, that'll be so nice. Okay, and then the waistband, clean finished and stitched, so it's not going to roll. These only need hems. I didn't put my label in because that was too fiddly. I feel like they're a little bit crooked here. See that? All right, let's do them on the serger now and see how that goes. VOA. Hi, Penny. Yeah, I know. Hi, Aubrey. How's it going? I don't know what VOA means. Are you thinking of FOA, fold over elastic, FOE? Carrie, if you have a favorite pair of underwear, you could copy them. Yeah, Aisha, I think that happens too. Yeah, some of them can get a little baggy. Yeah, but the rayon tencel knit I used from Hearts, I love those. They're nice and cool, but they're not going to hold me in. And it's the microfiber polyester ones I got from Bra Maker Supply. All right, so let's head over to the serger. Let's see, do we need to do anything here? Let's position our pockets. Because doing it once they are, the elastics on here is really tricky, right? So we're gonna line this up. We're gonna use different pins this time. Don't ever apologize, and you're not an overthinker. There's a lot of things to think about when making underwear, and it's very personal. I think a lot of people do it because they're just tired of how theirs fit. Look at how much I'm pinning this. I really don't want them to come out this time, and I'm using my little chunky guys, the ones that don't come out unpinned as easily. She'll shrink through them. That's awesome. Yeah, but if you pre-washed it, it won't. Yeah, and the sorry I don't know much about that micro denier stuff, but it's like the stuff that you would get like underwear made at the store, you know. Oh, shoot, Melody. I did that on the Zen pants if you need any tips, but here's the best part about doing a buttonhole for a drawstring. At least the buttonhole only has to fit your drawstring. You don't have to worry about a button. And if they get one gets different from the other, the drawstring's gonna cover that up, so you don't have to worry about it. It's a little less stress. So in a way, it is actually the better kind of buttonhole reason to do, right? It's not so bad. All right, so let's chalk the okay. I'm still waiting to figure out what VOA means from Aubrey. Yeah, see, if there's ever a reason to use a buttonhole, that's the time you want to do it. And I was going to do it on these, and I forgot to get that machine out. I even have the draw cord sitting here ready and everything. All right. Let's go to the serger. Oh, geez. I was so focused on moving the iron, I stepped on my foot pedal. Okay. All right, so, oh, I still need to mark this in quarters as well. So let's line up our center fronts here, bring it over here, snip. I will say if you have a person in your life who's very sensitive to textures and things like that, doing it sewing this the way I just sewed it will be softer on the skin. The serger will be a little bit more scratchy because some folks are pretty sensitive. Some kiddos especially, they will go through a period where everything is extremely irritating. And you can kind of soften that if you sewed it the other way. This right here is making me a little nervous. It looks like it might, see that? It's that serger coming out. Not a fan. Oh, cool. Great, Carrie. Knickers pattern. It's the best word ever for underwear. All right. So the same thing goes true when I say you want to stretch it, hold it static, and then sew. And I cannot stress this more than on the serger. It is very important. If you can drop your knife and you are nervous about cutting something, drop your knife. I don't. If you nick your elastic a little bit, it's not the end of the world. So I'm not sewing yet, I'm just running along here. I'm just gonna try and hit the center here first. All right, and now I'm gonna position. So I'm gonna line up the V-notch with the, I'm gonna hold it back here when I pull, because right now it's in the machine and I don't have the needles down. This doesn't operate like my single needle machine. And I don't want to put that kind of pressure on the serger needles. So I'm going to stretch it like this. And then we're going to sew. We're holding it stretched, right? Let's pull this down a little bit. go in the wrong spot there. There we go. Press your seam allowances towards the front. All right, so I'll line up this one now. Right, exactly, Melody. Totally agree with you. Other notch here. There we go. Trying to get that center there, because before it starts coming undone. There is a little kid, I think, that goes to the library once in a while, and they have a little whistle, and they're here today. I can hear it. Okay, don't cut your serging when you get to the beginning. Try not to cut it, just go alongside it. And if you leave a tail here, you can tuck it in here, because we're just going to turn this once now and top stitch it. And I have a whole dedicated video on how to do that. It gives some tips and things. All right, so this time we just need to turn it once and stitch it down, and we're going to catch that pocket in. This is like, if you have a label that you want to put in, this would be the step to do it. Let's see, maybe we could add some, I got this one, I get like Maker's Fabric always sends a label. Where's one of those? Because they're nice and soft. Mine are kind of scratchy. Maker's Fabric always sends this, like, these little leather thongs around your thing. They give you all the information on your fabric. She knows I love this color. She sends me the swatch. But look here, you get a little label every time. It's kind of fun. And it's so much softer than mine. I'm going to put this one in this pair, and then I'll put the other one in the other one. Okay. About right there. Push it taut. Slide it up. You want this to be taut, so you're folding it right on that elastic edge there. We're just going to get it sewn in first. All right, this is a lot easier, except we do have the fiddle factor of including our pockets, and that's about it. But now we're going to, remember, you're pulling your fabric and keeping it nice and smooth. You see how smooth this is right here? This always wants to balloon up. I think it's this pocket doing that. All right, here's our pocket. I'm going to get it sewing a little bit. Ooh, this is so fiddly. There's got to be a better way. I didn't want to add the bulk to the waistband, but you know what? It might be worth it. I'm going to leave those pins there to hold it. You know what I mean? Because this is just too fiddly. You could probably glue stick it temporarily. I don't want that torquing. I can see happening. Oof. sorry if you went this route and it's too fiddly. You know? Get in there. We'll pin these the proper way. I knew better. Still did it. There we go. That's better, and I can pull on it. Has anyone ever left a pin inside something they've sewn? I've only had one time where it happened inside the garment, like inside the casing or something. It wasn't even pinned to something, it was just loose. All right, we survived. Look at that, looks really nice. Let's get rid of all these pins. Whew. I'm curious what this measures. It measures 24 perfectly. All right. So we have this pair, and we just need to do the hems. I'll probably do that off camera unless you guys want. You left masking. I never brought that one. Wow. That sounds scratchy. In kind of a bad spot too. So I'm going to put this label right here behind this center back seam for fun. And then let's put Cricut's iron-on patch on here too. No, don't squish out like that. Oh, see, it did. Look at that. It kind of pulled out right here. I thought it did that. Let's get rid of that. Black thread really makes your sewing look kind of meh. Oh, yeah, that would hurt, Melody. And you know, that's such a bummer because they probably did the safety pins to actually make it less of a problem that the pins would poke you. But safety pins are not very secure when they're put under any kind of strain. Unless you use like a diaper, like old-fashioned diaper pins, you know? I'm really tempted to just stitch that down so it stays pressed one way. Okay. So where's my letter C I got? Let's see. I got this old, look at this thing. I've had this for a really long time. Oh, I just peeled the backing right off. Well, good thing we're about to use it. We'll put this one on here, the one with my face on it. Do I just put it on her butt? That's not very nice, is it? I mean, she can tell them different because of the label. I could do this. I could put it inside the pocket right here. So tempted to, you know what? Maybe what I'll do is I'll put it inside the back pocket. That's what I'm going to do. It's an iron-on patch. The hip. I have a feeling she's going to be like, you know, I actually wear those around town. They're going to be so adorable going anywhere together in these. This thread right here. Okay, well that was a really small, so the reason this was really hard to get in, the elastic was kind of fiddly, like look, it's a little loose right here, is there's so much volume with these pants. So if you pick a pant that's a little bit slimmer, like it doesn't need to be the same size as the person, it just needs to be a little bit bigger, right? But because look at this is a lot of volume to put in here in a really small circumference. So if I had a bigger piece of elastic, there'd be more stretch, right? The smaller the piece, the more confined it is. So hopefully yours is a little easier than these. This is nice though, like this, I get it a little bit wonky. You know, I feel like I didn't do great at getting my seams one on, well, maybe I did. This one maybe. Yeah, look at this one's. It's like, here's the seam right here, and here's the seam. So it's a little bit pushed. But at least I know it won't roll. Even though it's tilting a little bit, I can kind of slide these gathers a little bit to kind of hide it. But the pocket, which is really nice, this is a nice touch. I love it when my pockets stay forward. Okay, so these just need hems. And I'm going to cut two of them, or one of them 2 inches shorter, and it's this pair right here. So I'm just going to cut it straight across, and then I'm going to hem them. But I'm going to check the inseam first. That's why I'm not going to do it at all, because I may need to cut them. They're 2 inches shorter than Cricket's. That's what I need to do. But I need to see if this length is already too long for Cricket. So I'm going to cut them down to Cricket size and then 2 inches shorter. So that's what I'm going to do. But and as far as the hem goes, personally, I would just roll this twice the same amount. I really like a hem that's filled with fabric. So if there's a 1 inch hem allowance, then you would do, you know, quarter, half inch. If you have to trim anything off of your hems, I would allow enough, like I think 1.5 inches hem allowance is really nice, because then you can turn it 3/4, turn it 3/4, and I feel like it has less opportunity to need ironing or flip up when it's filled with fabric. That's my 2 cents. It's also easier to sew. Like you guys sometimes comment, how do I do that without pins? I can only do it without pins mainly because it's pretty easy when if the hem is cut on the grain, and if I'm not turning 1/4 inch and then sewing, then it gets a little bit wonky. I can do it, but like I have to kind of go, all right, you know, I have to kind of fiddle with it. When I'm just doing it the same amount, it's a lot easier to just turn, right? So that would be what I would do. You can overlock it and turn it up once too. That's fine. I personally like it clean. I think it's the serger, I don't know. Sometimes it snags on things, you know. So cool. Well, there we go. We have 2 pairs of pajama pants. I just need to iron on the patch on Crickets and hem them, and they're done. Yay. So tomorrow I'm making 2 things. They're both free patterns by me. There's a neck warmer and an oven mitt. This is what I'm doing on Friday. I'm doing the Hillside Tote by Noodlehead. Saturday, the Sam Apron by Helen's Closet. This one's free, this one's not free. This will be on my website this afternoon. You need about a 1/2 yard to make one of the neck warmers in fabric, and about 4 to 5 pounds of rice. This is a very simple thing to sew. The hard part is rice wrangling. That's all. That's the hard part, honestly, and it isn't easy. The oven mitt, I have it listed as a beginner. Yes, and don't put them in the microwave. Well, I mean, the neck warmer is going into the microwave, right? But this definitely goes into the microwave. You have to have 100% natural fabrics. You have to have cotton thread, right? So make sure you do that. And then on the oven mitt, so many things we made this week having to do with the microwave and heat. 3 things. That's why it's been kind of confusing for me to keep things straight. All right, so in the oven mitt, I listed it originally as a beginning pattern. The rice saga on my site. I'm going to up that to intermediate. I feel like saying it's a beginning pattern is misleading. It's not a very big project to sew. It's a lot of short little seams. It's really not that hard. There is a binding step at the very end though. So that's why I say that. So, import. There we go. Are they gone too? Did they, why aren't they showing up for me that I just reported them? The bot there. You know what? I wonder if the VOA comment was a, oh, it is the Aubrey one. Bye. This is the thing is a lot of the bots now, they have actual names that look recognizable. So it's hard to tell. Or they'll say, this was fantastic. And then like, it's this huge paragraph of spam. Okay. So the oven mitt, this isn't going in the microwave. I don't recommend putting it in the microwave because you can use something called Insul Bright to kind of protect yourself from the heat. Okay, so I just want to pitch my little oven mitt to you guys. Oh, I forgot to bring mine in. I love this little oven mitt because you can make it in 3 different sizes and it's very secure. Like it seats onto your hand right here and it stays on the fingertips. Yes, this part of your hand is not protected, so if you're really reaching in deep a lot and you're going to touch a rack, that is an issue, but it's secure. And a lot of oven mitts just don't fit, and they're very stiff and they're very boardy, and it's almost like they designed it as if they're going to get sued. You know what I mean? But then you can't use it. I find them really dangerous, and so I end up using a dish towel, which is drops into the food and or touches the heat element. So I designed this little oven mitt. And I honestly over engineered it at first and made it really better. And they double as hand puppets. Very true. So, but then I backed it off and made the sewing a little easier. I'm going to be updating the pattern on the site to actually have all of this on here with the description, the cutting, the instructions, because before it was only the pattern pieces here. Put your hand drawn. So it's getting updated. If you've already gotten it, it's free. You'll get an updated email. You need to use a knitted towel, right? Yeah. So I feel like they never work very good. So my favorite ones that I've made, full disclosure, I actually cut up a pot holder made by All Clad, and it was this kind of very gentle hourglass shaped big boardy thing that I couldn't even bend. And it has these silicone strips on it to grip things, and I loved that. So what I did was I popped off the binding, which took 2 seconds because the stitches were like 4 stitches per inch. And then I pulled it apart and I used that piece for the side that goes towards the heat. So my husband was even like, I think I'm going to order a couple pot holders that I could cut up and make into pot holders because he liked those so much. It's 10 so. No caps. Yeah, you guys get 10% off at Hearts Fabric in Santa Cruz any old time. Yay, that's awesome. Good job, Melody. Woo woo, sew on. As a facial. Oh, Susie. That's a good idea. I think you could do it. What if you did it with only one side as a fingertip? Right? You don't need the bottom, just the top. And then you could put terry cloth on the other side. You're so clever. You're always so clever, Susie. I love it. See you later, Melody. Thanks for sewing with me. Yeah, I'm going to try to remember to bring that up tomorrow. Gosh, I could use something like that too. I love that idea. And it doesn't have to go in the microwave because I'm totally terrified of that now. I'm serious though. Anyway, All right, so that's what I'm doing tomorrow. They're free. This one's not on my website yet. It will be soon. It'll be there this afternoon. And you need a 1/2 yard of fabric and some rice. So that's it. You could do one side, one fabric, one side the other. Cotton thread. This one you need, if you have a 1/4 yard of fabric, you can make 2 whole oven mitts. And then you need a 1/4 yard of batting. That would be 2 whole oven mitts. And you need some binding. So, and a little bit of elastic, just so you know what you need. All right, I'll see you guys tomorrow. That was fun. Thanks for sewing with me. I'm being so productive this week. It's pretty awesome. I hope you guys are too. So I'll see you guys tomorrow, and watch for those patterns. Thanks for coming.